What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports. You're watching our college football channel. I gave you my post-spring top 25, and now I'm going to rank every single Power 5 team, because a lot of you, I think, are wondering, where I find all these teams. Is it a team that's close to the top 25 or one of the worst Power 5 teams? We're going to go through and rank them all right here. So let me very quickly go through the top 25 again. If you have not seen that video, go back and watch it. And I go more in depth talking about those 25 teams, but I'm just going to run through them really quickly. This was the top 25: Georgia, Michigan, Florida State, USC, LSU, and then at 6 through 10, Ohio State, Alabama, Penn State, Washington, Notre Dame. And then we had 11, Tennessee, 12, Oregon, 13, Clemson, 14, Utah, and number 15, Texas. And then Ole Miss at 16, North Carolina at 17, Tulane at 18, Wisconsin at 19, Texas A&M at number 20. And then Oklahoma, Kansas State, TCU, Texas Tech, and Oregon State round out the top 25. I realize that Tulane is not a Power 5 team, but since I already had the graphics done, I already had them in my top 25. We're going to include them in this top 25, and then I'm going to go 26 through 70 to do the rest of the Power 5. And it came out even that way because there are technically 68 Power 5 teams, and then if you throw Notre Dame in there, that makes it 69. And then if you did add in a group of 5 team, that will get you to 70. All right, so here we go. 26 through 30. These are the teams that I think are very, very close. Teams that I strongly considered being in my top 25, and even more than these 5. I considered more than just these 5. But 26 is Duke. I think this Duke team has a chance to be really good. A lot of production coming back. They're going to be one of the more experienced teams. Maybe not the most talented team, but look, they were really good last year with less talent. I think they can do it again and potentially be a top 25 team. Mississippi State's another team that has a lot of veteran guys back, including their quarterback. The coaching change, how is that going to look? We'll see. Kentucky at number 28, another team that I think has a real chance to be a top 25 team this year. Devin Leary coming over at quarterback and reuniting with Liam Cohen. That is just a huge, huge deal. If they can get back to that type of offense they had a couple of years ago, they've got weapons at wide receiver. This team could potentially be a top 25 team. Again, all these teams, I think, have that potential. UCF at number 29 and Kansas. Both of these teams in the Big 12, really, really experienced teams. A lot of production coming back. If there was going to be a team to maybe surprise in the Big 12, a team off the radar, so I'm talking about not Texas or Oklahoma or TCU or Kansas State or even Texas Tech. Watch for one of these two teams, UCF or Kansas, to maybe make a run and be a surprise team this year. I'm telling you, both teams have a lot of production coming back and pretty talented teams as well, especially UCF with some big-time transfers in there. These teams are going to be good, and I don't think they're going to be easy wins for anyone in the Big 12. Let's go to 31 through 35. I've got Iowa at number 31. Cade McNamara at quarterback. That'll be very interesting. Can this team develop an offense? If they can, they should be pretty strong on defense like they always are. And then Iowa potentially could be a top 25 team. UCLA, they've lost some talented players, but they've also added a lot of guys in the transfer portal. This will be an interesting team to watch. South Carolina at number 33. Spencer Rattler coming back. That's the good news. But if you look at there are some areas of concern here with the offensive line, some areas on defense. How good can this team be? I think they have potential, just like these other teams, to beat a top 25 team, but there are some question marks on the roster. Miami has probably a better roster than Iowa, UCLA, or South Carolina. If you really look at their roster, the talent that they have, the guys they've brought in, the experience they have coming back, this is a really talented roster, but that didn't seem to matter last year, so I didn't want to put them too high. Again, you got to put it all together. You got to play on the field. The games are not won on paper. So I've got them at 34, but potential for Miami and Louisville to be top 25 teams as well. Louisville is interesting because of the coaching change, so many transfers coming in. This team has a lot of production, a lot of talent on the roster, but there are a lot of new faces. How are all those players going to work together? Is it going to work year one with a new coaching staff, a lot of new players? It's one of those boom or bust teams, a team that could possibly be really good and surprise, or it's a team that maybe it doesn't work. It takes, year one just doesn't work, and it's going to take some time, and this team struggles. But I think Louisville has potential to be a really dangerous team, a sleeper team in the ACC. All right, now we're getting to the teams that I think I didn't really consider for the top 25, but who knows? Maybe they could surprise. Missouri, number 36, a good bit of production coming back. They should be really strong on defense. I think they have some underrated guys on offense. This could be, I think, a pretty sneaky good team in the SEC East. Arkansas at number 37, KJ Jefferson is back. That's the good news. I don't know who's going to throw the ball to. I mean, they've added some transfers from the lower levels. Maybe those guys are better than I think, but there are some question marks here for Arkansas. Again, they have the run game. You look at the run game for this team, the running backs they have, and KJ Jefferson. They're going to be a good team, but are they ready to be like a top 25 team? Again, I have some question marks with their roster, and really the same thing with Maryland. I've heard some people talk about them potentially being a dark horse or maybe a sleeper team in the Big Ten. I don't really see that. I think there are too many holes on the roster. You see Tagovailoa coming back, and you get excited and think, yeah, this team's going to be good. Both of these teams, actually, Arkansas and Maryland, were two teams that I thought could probably be top 25 teams back in January. But when I really dug into their rosters, I just don't know if it's there. Again, holes for both of these teams. They have a chance to be good, solid teams, but I don't know if they're really top 25 material. Number 39 is Illinois, a team that has a good bit of production coming back. Luke Altmaier coming in from Ole Miss. We'll see how he does at quarterback for them. But yeah, a lot of production coming back. This team should be pretty good. Minnesota's kind of in that same category. You know, how much production are they going to get in the passing game? The run game should be solid. Defense should be good. They're a team that could maybe make a run in the Big Ten West, both Illinois and Minnesota. I've said it before, I think Wisconsin's the favorite, and then maybe you have Iowa, but I think Illinois and Minnesota definitely are teams that are in that conversation as well. All right, number 41, I've got Auburn. This is a team that is starting to climb higher and higher in these rankings. They have done a really nice job in the transfer portal. Will Peyton Thorne work out for them at quarterback? Maybe they go back to Robbie Ashford. We'll see. But it's just a roster that's, again, just getting better and better and better. And you have to believe that Hugh Freeze is going to get it done. So this is a team that might wind up even higher when we do these rankings before the season starts as they continue to add more players in the transfer portal. Then you've got Baylor. I think this Baylor team has a chance to be... It's another team that I thought might be a top 25 team back in January, but when you really dig into the roster, there are some holes there, but there is potential for Baylor as well. Same thing with Oklahoma State. You look at all the transfers that they lost. Well, they brought in a bunch of guys as well. Oklahoma State's not going to fall off as far as I think maybe some people thought. Watch out for the Cowboys to still be a very solid team in the Big 12. Then we've got Pittsburgh and NC State, very similar teams. Both teams look to be pretty solid, but they do have some question marks, some holes on the roster. I feel like this is a pretty good spot for both of these teams. Very comparable. You know, I love the Brennan Armstrong transfer to NC State, reuniting with his old offensive coordinator and everything, but you just look at the roster, the linebacker position, some holes on the offensive line. There are some question marks for NC State, and again, Pittsburgh is kind of in that same category. All right, let's move on now to number 46. That's going to be Washington State. This is a team that should be pretty good. I think I've said this before. They're a very average team. I mean, they're pretty good across the board. They're not great anywhere, but they're not bad anywhere either. This is your typical average team. And I even think, I may be wrong here, but I think that they might have been right around 0 on the FBI, which also would indicate that they're an average team. Arizona is a team maybe with a little bit more potential, some young talent on this roster, getting better and better. We'll see just how much better they can be this year. Florida, a team I'm not all that high on. As you can see where I've got them ranked, I don't think Graham Mertz is the guy at quarterback. They should have a very strong run game, but without a passing game to go with it, I'm concerned. Defense, I think, they're going to be okay on defense, but nothing great. So I think Florida's a team that struggles this year. And then I've got West Virginia next. This is a team that has a good bit of production coming back. They're not going to be the most talented team in the Big 12. We'll see what things look like for them. I expect the run game to be very solid, but just like Florida, what are they going to get in the passing game? That'll be a question mark. Houston, I think, should be pretty good in the passing game. The defense, maybe a question mark for them, but we'll see how they do in year one in the Big 12. Moving right along, we've got Michigan State coming in number 51. A team that I was ready to put way, way, way higher on this list. I had been looking at them, looking at the roster, thinking this is going to be a surprise team. They have a lot of production coming back. They filled some holes very nicely. Not really many question marks for them. Maybe the secondary, again, is still a concern. But then they lose their top receiver. They lose their starting quarterback. And Michigan State falls. So I've got them down here. Nebraska right behind them. A team with potential. We'll see. Maybe Jeff Sims is the superstar for them. And everything comes together in year one under Matt Rule. But I think it's going to take a little bit of time. Purdue is up next. Another team with a new coach. Hudson Card steps in at quarterback. That'll be interesting to watch. But I think they take a pretty big step back from where they were last year. Wake Forest is a team that I'm not really concerned. I know they lose Sam Hartman. I'm not concerned about their offense. It's the defense. This defense looks like they're going to be pretty bad, and that's why I've got them down here. And then Iowa State, this is a team that I thought I might wind up having them a little bit higher as well, but when you really look at their roster, it's just not a great roster. They just don't stack up with some of the top teams in the Big 12, and I think they finish probably near the bottom of the conference once again. All right, moving on to number 56. That's going to be BYU. The Cougars are an interesting team this year. Again, just not a ton of talent. Really the same story with Cincinnati. Lost a lot of players. We're getting into those teams that I just don't think are going to be very good. Georgia Tech, maybe a little bit more potential. They really played well late last season. Can they continue that and build off of that momentum? I don't know if Haynes King is going to be the guy for them at quarterback. Maybe go back to one of their guys from last year. We'll see. Syracuse at number 59. This team has a lot of holes. Garrett Schrader's back at quarterback, but I have major question marks really for this Syracuse team. Colorado is like, where do you rank them? Who knows? I mean, I have no idea what to expect from Colorado. Maybe they're way higher than this. Maybe they're way lower. They may not win a game. They may go 1-11 again. I don't know. I put them here kind of before the teams that I really expect to be like really bad, but behind all the teams that I see having a little bit of potential. So that's just where I wound up with them at number 60. Number 61, Boston College. I think they improved this year. They've got some nice pieces coming back. Added some players in the transfer portal. They've got a really easy schedule. So I think they have actually a chance to get to a bowl game. I think Vanderbilt, another team that they're slowly, very slowly kind of getting better as a program. I still think they're the worst team in the SEC though this year. Indiana, maybe they improve a little bit from last year. I think Virginia Tech improves from last year a little bit, but again, these teams have a long ways to go. Cal, who's going to be the quarterback for them? I think that's going to be a question mark. The passing game, defense, also some question marks there. And then we close things out with Arizona State at number 66, Northwestern at 67, Rutgers at 68, Virginia 69, and Stanford at number 70. Again, all of these teams just have a lot of question marks. Arizona State maybe has a little bit more potential. There are some guys on the roster, but first-year head coach, I don't expect a ton for them. I think they've got a ways to go. Northwestern maybe a little better than last year. Rutgers, I think, still struggles. Virginia just doesn't have it on the roster. Who's going to be their quarterback? And then Stanford, there are a few really talented players for Stanford, but they lost several guys, and they really didn't bring anything in the transfer portal. I think maybe just a few FCS guys. So I think as bad as they were last year, they're even worse this year. It's going to be a total rebuild. And yes, I actually think Stanford is going to be the worst team in the Power 5. What are your thoughts on these rankings? What would you change? Who am I overrating? Who am I underrating? Let me know down in the comments below.